Well, let's hop into it.
And this is essentially our first time with the new setup.
It is. I'm looking at the flip here, and I'm looking at yours. I think it's... I'm curious for all of you who are watching. We did a new setup. If you're new, then you're not going to know the old setup that we had, but we switched it because now we have all this natural light, plus we have our actual lights from the podcast here.
But I do miss the green curtains. I thought it was such an aesthetic, you know?
It was, but don't you feel a little more like upbeat with the natural light hitting us?
I love the natural light. Because when you come in and it's so dark and you have to only have the fake lights, you're like, where am I? I feel kind of like I'm in a cave.
Yeah.
Here I'm like, good day.
It feels like the day's good. Yeah, because usually if you close the blinds, it's black.
Yeah.
So it would feel like it could be 1:30 in the morning, where now it actually feels like Friday afternoon. So.
And I kind of like the feng shui of when you walk in the room.
Yeah.
It feels a little different, more inviting. I'm like, oh, I could sit and work in here for a little bit.
Yeah, because before, for any of you who didn't see, I think I posted on Instagram maybe, but essentially we set this podcast studio up so that it would flow because guests were coming over. Mm-hmm. And we wanted it to feel a certain way and look a certain way when guests would walk in the door. Their significant other or a friend could sit on the couch, and it was set up for people to come here.
Right.
But it wasn't set up as much for us. But now that people are coming on as Zoom,
right.
It's just you and I in this room. So we made it functional that we can actually work in here, and it's really great.
Doing it up. So we'll see if we really love the natural light, if it's worth it to keep it this way.
I think it looks good. I think we're really bright, and I think it's going to turn out really well. So that's a little behind the scenes for all of you there who were curious about the new setup. But we've got a lot to talk about today for the recap.
We do.
This week was a rare week on Days of Our Lives for Sonny and Will because we got to exercise our comedic muscle. There was a lot of the scenes today where even though it was serious, talking to our daughter about expanding the family or Gabby skipping court potentially, and we're like, but there was like a comedic undertone.
Sure.
And there's something special about how Days allows us to do a little improv, a little overlapping. You could feel the freedom that Will and I had throughout these two episodes this week because we were just in the moment. We were playing the comedy, and the scene was able to breathe. Because when you're angry, and I've always said this when you're studying lines, if you have comedy or you have time to think, you can let everything sit a little bit.
Right.
But if you're aggressive and you're yelling at someone, if you forget your line or take a beat while you're like yelling at somebody, it shows that your character's weak, that he doesn't know what to say or she doesn't know what to say. So if I'm just like, I can't believe that you did this. You are just the worst. And you lose that power.
Yeah.
So anytime I'm showing a power position, you have to know every single word and be really cool and make sure you know every single thing that you're saying. But when you're doing comedy or you have things you can think, you can allow the scene to breathe. Yeah. And me and Will did that a lot, me and Chandler. And Sydney, who plays Ari now, she's an incredible little actress. Her family's amazing. Her mom's always there, and just a lovely, lovely family. But yeah, we got to have some fun, and I think that gives us a little reprieve. And I think the audience enjoys a little comedy because it's always so dramatic. So when we get to come to work and just go, oh, today's not stressful, I don't have to produce a feeling that isn't organic.
Sure.
So
it's
it
more
was
light and fun.
Yeah, you just like you're like, all right, I get what I'm saying. Let's just play. And so it was really great.
What are the odds that the two actresses that have played your daughter Ari are both named Sydney? I know one was a twin, so.
Yeah, but isn't it crazy?
Like, what are the odds of that?
Maybe that was on the breakdown. You must be named Sydney. There was a girl, Kingston, who came in for one day, and then she booked something. So it was actually Sydney and Harper, the Udell twins, and then Kingston came for a day, and then Sydney. So That's how it went. But we have a bunch of questions from the audience today. So thank you for all of the comments, the DMs, and the text messages. We went through and we grabbed a handful. So Alyssa's going to be asking me all of those, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the episodes. But first, the famous intro. Welcome, everyone, to the Freddie and Alyssa Show. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like, comment, all that fun YouTube stuff. If you're new and you haven't been to our channel, we've been producing content for like 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years. And I think this is episode 107 of the Freddie and Alyssa Show.
Gosh.
So we've been producing content on iTunes and Facebook and all over the place. But here on YouTube, you can take a look around. We've done vlogs. We did a lot of fun stuff. But it would go a long way if you just press that subscribe button. If you pause just for a second, if we all take this moment and we make sure to subscribe, it really helps out the channel and helps out the algorithm, which allows us to continue to produce these episodes. So you'd be helping us tremendously.
Crushing it, baby.
Crushing it. Do I get an A+ on that one?
A+. You got to keep going, though.
I'm going to keep going. While I'm on my roll, let's hop into the sponsor of the day.
Woo, sponsor.
The Natural Light's giving me the energy.
It's giving you the energy, baby.
Giving me the energy.
I'm feeling it.
It's CBD for life. CBD for life. Alyssa and I have been using these products since December. And CBD is like in the news. CBD is the 2019-2020 phenomenon that's coming in. CBD infused products are in pretty much every category, and CBD for Life has so many different products, and I just love working with this company. They've been a huge supporter of the show, and I've got my famous foot cream, and we actually have a here it is right here, and we also have the body cream out there, which I didn't actually bring in with me today, but this morning I was rubbing it on my right knee. And it just helps with inflammation and aches and pains. And now that we've been doing the Insanity workout, I love rubbing out my muscles, but putting a little CBD cream on my muscles.
Yes.
It really helps. And then Alyssa likes to take baths with the CBD bath bomb. So they have a lot of great products. If you go to cbdforlife.us, and also at checkout, if you type in Freddie Alyssa 20, all one word, Freddie Alyssa 20, you'll receive 20% off your order. So you can try. They have hand sanitizer. They have all these different products. So check out their website. You won't be disappointed, and you can give these a try. We've been definitely super happy. So thank you, CBD for Life, for your support.
Ooh.
And lastly, people who are showing up to our show for the first time are like,
what's up?
What have you been drinking?
But you gotta save the best for last. You know what I'm saying?
You do. Here it is. So today is going to be a challenge for me. So on top of all the fun stuff we have going on, we also have a producer program here with our show. Once you hit a certain amount of subscribers, if you will, YouTube opens up a way that people can pay a monthly subscription to help your channel grow, for us to run advertising, to grow our channel in many different facets. And one of the perks of being a producer is you get a shout out. So I'm not going to name everybody, but I'm going to knock out a few today, because if I named everybody, it would take another hour. So I appreciate all your support, but here are like 5 to 10 people that are next on the list. And if your name isn't mentioned, we'll get you next week. But bear with me, because there's some tricky names today, so you can all make fun of me. The first one is Atlanta Piano Man, which is Mark Fuller, which we learned.
Yes.
Robert Bottorff, Bottorff,
right.
Colfer's Angel, Megan Maloney, Sherry Letrich, Dick McCann, and Patricia Hoteling.
You're crushing
Brad Lane, Sharon Lee Ann, Christy Power. Thank you so much. If you want to learn about being a producer of the show and get some behind the scenes and bloopers and all that extra fun perks, there's a link in the description and you can learn how to become a producer.
See, look at you crushing that. You've never had a name that teachers could mess up. Like Freddie Smith is pretty simple. For me growing up, I always got Alicia, Alicia, Tabit. Like for some reason.
Does it deep down bother you? Or do you just go, that's all good?
I mean, you're just like, come on, but...
So some of the producers are going to go, really, Freddie?
Yeah.
We're chipping in to help you grow and you can't get my name right?
So we got to work on it.
We got to work on it,
baby. No, but you get used to it in life. Like, towards senior year, I was like, yeah, they're just going to mess it up. Just is what it is.
Well, you know what's interesting is my biggest fear in life, like my biggest fear, is reading out loud.
I know.
So I can go on stage and improv. If there's a teleprompter, it lights out. I get so nervous. I don't like reading out loud. There's something about reading out loud that scares me. And even though I looked over those names, as soon as I knew I was on camera reading them, I started I just couldn't see the name. Yeah.
Were you one of those kids that would look in the book if you guys all had to read out loud in class? Would you look ahead to your paragraph that you'd be assigned and count the... Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I was so opposite. I loved reading out loud. But that's, again, where our different, I guess, strengths come in handy, because you're more members, you love that.
Well, even when I write something, and for people who follow me, they can probably tell if it's a Freddie and Alyssa page who wrote it, because there's times that I'm missing.
There's a text message on our text server.
Oh, they're always messed up, because I look at it and I go, I know what I want to say, and I read it. I proofread it so slow, and then you're like, babe, you're missing 6 words.
The other day you wrote some email and you're reading it to me and you're like, yeah, I think I got this. It's perfect. And then you sent it and you reread it and you go, I left out a couple words.
I was like wishing you family the best instead of you and your family the best. But I read it in my mind that I wrote it. So I don't know what that is.
Work like that.
Yeah.
Is that left brain, right brain, you think?
I don't know. But it's just something that, like, reading aloud is not
your jam.
So I don't know if it's dyslexic, because when I read myself, I'm fine.
You're fine.
I think it's the pressure of reading out loud or the pressure of like sending an email. So that's why I have to have you check everything. But I feel like our audience knows by now. They're like, Freddie's, he's doing his best. I do read it over.
You've come a long way. I remember on Twitter, I used to call you out and be like, we got to work on your grammar and spelling. Legit, when we were just friends, like over a decade ago.
Yeah.
And you, like, I've seen you come leaps and bounds because you actually care and you learned.
Yeah.
And now it's, pretty good.
Well, it's kind of interesting because of social media. If you didn't grow up with how we're growing up and you didn't have a job that required much writing, like, how would you ever improve as an adult? You kind of like whatever you learned and graduated with, which that still wasn't, I didn't have the yearning to want to learn about it. It was just, my whole motive in school was just, how do I just learn enough of this to get the grade? It was always about the result, not the progress, and that's why I just never cared, but I had a good memory.
But that's true. Everyone, because of social media, is essentially put on blast. You're posting stuff all the time. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
You want to kind of formulate your thoughts because before, who would have seen it unless it was just your job? That you were at work doing emails.
Yeah. And now they have spell check, which helps.
Yeah.
They've always had that, but it's gotten a little better. Even Google or Gmail, like, predicts what you're going to say, and you can just hit tab or enter and just it writes for you. Twitter's integrating an audio platform now.
Really?
Where you can send audio tweets so that people can which is going to be really up my alley, because the Twitter tweets for me are difficult. Yet again, I think it's the whole writing thing for me to concisely put something.
So you mean that if I go on Twitter, I can see an audio tweet from Freddie Smith?
I looked and it's not available yet, so I don't know what they're doing. It's probably like hard to integrate that, so whenever that happens. But yeah, you can just go, and for a minute and 40 seconds, I think, you can just go, hey everyone, so this is what's going on today. It's going to be a little bit to adapt. Like, I feel like am I really going to listen to someone talk without seeing them for a minute 30 seconds?
People are on Twitter to quickly, at least I am, to absorb information, because isn't it like 140 characters that you can put on a tweet?
I think it's 280 now.
Okay, 280. So that's very small. And so to sit and listen to something that's a minute and 40, is that what you said?
I think so.
Gary Vee would love something like that.
He's the one I heard it from.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, but then it's also, too, there's a lot of wireless headphones that are being implemented. I feel like the more and more we evolve, we're going to continue our cyborgness of having the headphones in at all times. So being able to listen to things. But then I remember sitting around like 2-3 years ago going, what would be another platform? I was like, there's no way another platform could ever come about. Like, what could it possibly be? And then TikTok comes. And you're like, oh. So it's always going to be evolving. So maybe it'll just take us some time to adjust, or it won't work. Because even Instagram TV is a little lame.
It's not it for me.
It doesn't work. Like, we use it because if you put it more than a minute on your grid, you can click and watch longer. But I never go to Instagram for Instagram TV. If they didn't do the preview on the grid, I don't think anyone would ever use IGTV. YouTube has absolutely just destroyed this category. It knows exactly what it's doing. It's concise. And even when we put stuff on Facebook, it's so interesting to see just how complicated it is. It's not easy to navigate.
Not user-friendly
YouTube
at all.
is just like, thank you, YouTube.
Thank you, YouTube.
So, but anyway, this is a day's recap episode, so let's get into
it. Because this week was fire. A lot of interesting things happened.
Yeah.
Like, first and foremost, I cannot believe the Ben and Will sitch.
Yeah.
He killed him, or essentially he did kill him, right?
Yeah, he killed him.
Oh my God, now he's his best man.
He's going to be his best man,
dun, dun, dun. It's so good. I love it.
You know the funniest story? I don't think I told this when Guy Wilson was on the pod. I forget. I don't think I told it. If I told it, I'm sorry. I'm telling it again. Because Guy Wilson and I had, like, we built a quick shorthand of like comedy, like really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, because I left the show after 4 years for like a couple months. And I remember he was texting me. And all he wrote me is, he goes, bro.
You know it.
And then he texted me again. He goes, they're killing me off, or whatever it was.
Oh my God.
And then he was being killed off by being strangled. And I was just like,
necktie killer, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was just, but it was like really
Bro.
funny. Yeah. But yeah, so Ben killed Will, and then, you know, when Will came back as Chandler, then they spent time in prison together. He saved his life. Ben saved Will's life, so they kind of built this friendship. But Sonny was a little hesitant about it. And I did see a question that I'm going to kind of mold into this that someone wrote about the forgivingness, like something like Sonny's kind of so quick to forgive. Mm-hmm. It's like, he killed you, but since you're friends, okay. And the same thing with Uncle Vic. Like, he knew Will was innocent this whole time. And I was like, I can't believe you, Uncle Vic. So do you want some tea? Some leftover bagels.
So then, do you remember in the storyline how Will essentially came back to life? Or was he never dead? Or
Yeah, the Dr. Rolf, shot, I think, gave him a syringe of something that brought him back to life, but then he was, like, in Nashville
as
under
a different guy.
Yeah. So that was a really cool storyline, you know, trying to fight back to falling in love again was really interesting. Huh. And I put a reel together. Susan Macbeth, by the way, thank you very much for the footage.
Up, girl?
I put a reel together because now that we're auditioning again and things are opening back up, I had this old reel that was kind of a lazy reel because I didn't really actively have it on my priority list. So I was like, if it happens to be, whatever. But then after getting a few auditions, I was like, all right, I need to really make this great. So I took a lot of these episodes from Days in the past year. Mm-hmm. I just felt it was Sonny's best year of material. And I opened up my reel with the scene where I was telling Brock or Evan in the jail cell, where I was just I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure so it starts off with catching them, and then it was when I found out my mom died, and then talking and showing that vulnerableness, and then I move it into where I yell at Maggie and Uncle Vic and Xander when I was like, you killed my mom. So this way it kind of showed this huge range of emotion. And I forget, what were we talking about right before what was my point of bringing up the reel?
I was asking about Dr. Rolf, and he brought people back, or was that way before?
Oh, my whole point is that I watched the scene again of Will gaining his memory back during a wedding, and him and I were in the club TBD, and I rewatched those scenes because I was like, oh, maybe I can put something.
He lost his memory. Oh my gosh.
That was a while ago.
I remember. What a great story.
Yeah, so I remember watching him get his memory back, but when I looked at it for a reel, it was a lot of Chandler, and I couldn't cut out his stuff and just focus on me because you could see the cuts and you could see the music being interrupted. So I had to find things that also felt good watching. Yeah. So I was able to blend the music together, and I had to pick certain scenes. So I couldn't really use anything, even though I liked the scenes. I couldn't use it for my reel. It wasn't focused enough on me.
Yeah.
But I remember watching that, and so we had a lot of great storylines. And now this one coming with the baby, of what we're gonna do, and we got to talk to Ari about wanting to adopt. I wonder how do you think that would be in real life?
What, to have one kid and say, hey, do you want to, or adopt?
It's very common. I'd say adopting, but also having one, because I know my cousin Mila, my cousin Cherie, her daughter was the center of attention for 2 years, and now she has another little girl, Harlow, and they're friendly and they love each other, but Mila's still a little jealous when my aunt comes. So she's like, Grandma, hold me. So she won't let Grandma hold Harlow. So it's kind of this little jealousy thing or something. She'll get out of that,
though, because I feel like most older siblings, big sisters, brothers, they want a sibling, especially the first time.
Yeah.
I remember my sister was so down. She always, you can even see in pictures when we were younger, she's always, holding me and protecting me, and she's done that her whole life. It's a big sis in her. Yeah. So I'm sure it's different, but at first, it's what a sweet little story. She's like, hold me.
Yeah, won't let. See, I never had to deal with any of that.
Because you're an only child. Shocker.
Only child.
God help me.
Front and center 24/7.
Oh my gosh.
Front and center.
I've noticed you being an only child later in life. Things will make sense when I look back to when we were younger. but I definitely notice things now, and it cracks me up.
Well, life experience has just brought me more into a caring about what I need to take care of, where I feel like I was way more open back in the day, but then you give someone rope, So I basically just tightened up a little bit. I'm still very selfless, but I definitely put my oxygen mask on before helping others at this point, where I think back in the day I was more like,
Yeah.
not in a bad way.
No. You're very specific with day-to-day things being your way or the highway.
I like them my way, yeah.
And if they don't go your way, you don't like that.
Yeah.
But it's cute. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's different. Only childs kind of have anytime you find another only child and you have a conversation, there's this unspoken just like feeling that we just know what it's like to be an only child, but yet we don't know what it's like to have someone else in the house. But I was close with my cousins.
I was just going to say that you at least had your cousins that were like siblings.
You know what's funny? In television, the relationship between cousins is never represented ever in a way that it's that close. It's usually like, oh, I got a cousin. Like they use it as like I got a cousin who can sell that for you. Oh yeah, my cousin, on Fifth, he'll go ahead and do. I have a cousin that can. It's never like a relationship between a brother and sister, or like, because I literally have a brother-sister relationship with my cousin Tara and my cousin Cherie. We grew up so close together that they're like sisters.
Yeah, and you lived right next to each other, which is such a bonus too.
So we grew up, so we just didn't have the bickering because we hung out all day, but then we went home, so we didn't live together and have to share space. So we never really fought much, but I do have a scar on my body from both of them. One is, if you look really close, I'll have to find it. Do you remember back in the day, there were those Huggies? They were in like a barrel, like a little barrel with aluminum foil on the top, and they were called Huggies, and they were like blue and orange.
What were they?
Juices.
Oh, okay.
I think they were called Huggies.
I thought Huggies was more of a
diaper.
I was trying to envision what you were describing. Okay, but it's a juice called Huggies.
Yeah, and I pulled, and comment below if you know what I'm talking about. But I took the last blue one, and she like swatted at me.
Who?
Cherie.
Okay.
This is when we were 30. No, we were like probably like 6 or 7 years old, and there's a little scar on my face from it. And then my cousin Tara was my boss when I worked at McDonald's in 2005. And I wanted to go home because they were cutting people as the night goes on. Yeah. And she cut someone else who came in after me. And I was like, what the hell? So I was like so frustrated. I was scrubbing really hard and fast. Yeah. And I cut my hand. You can actually see it. That's the scar. See it right there?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I cut my hand from underneath the coffee maker and sliced it, and it scarred. Because she wouldn't let me go home. So I guess I was an only child even back then.
You were just like, dang it. Oh, I'm bad.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I remember we watched a home video of you and Cherie when I think we were at your parents' house. And you guys were so young and you were playing in your bedroom. And Tara came in. She was video recording. And you guys were like, get out. It was so funny. Do you remember that?
I think we slammed the door in her face.
And Tara's older, and she was just like, geez, okay. Like, older than you guys. You guys are these, like, little 6-year-olds. Get out.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, so we did have that kind of brother and sister, sibling kind of thing.
They're such wonderful people. Have such great families, both of them.
Oh, yeah.
Growing up.
Yeah. So we had, but yeah, I think, I'm sure that conversation is interesting when you have another baby on the way, but it happens millions of times a day.
Yes.
Hey,
so
we have
then
another
Ari
baby.
wants a dog.
Yeah, she wants a
dog. To go back to days, since that's what this episode should be.
We're just going today. Well, it's because we haven't done one of a podcast of just us in like
shooting
8 days.
SHIT.
Yeah, so we're like, oh yeah, we're catching up. But yeah, so she wants a dog, and we just started the conversation, but she's gonna, we're gonna have to just
we'll see what happens
there.
Oh,
But do you want to hop into the questions?
I do. On that note, because we were talking about getting, or I guess Ari wanted a dog, someone did ask, what dog would you and Alyssa get if you got another one?
Well, first of all, I would want a yard before getting a dog. I love my little Benjamin, but I miss the big dog energy of like big dogs are more playful. They play fetch. They cuddle with you. Because I grew up with a chocolate lab, and that's how she was. Where Benji's kind of like a cat. Like, he only wants you when he needs you. He uses you, but then he'll cuddle with you, but very seldom. Like, we go, oh my God, he's cuddling. We can't get up. Like, we won't go to the bathroom for an hour because we're like, he's very
here.
rarely. Yeah, and he doesn't play fetch. He doesn't.
No.
So I would want a big dog, but we can't have a big dog in the apartment.
No.
But I would do a lab again, because golden retrievers I think are the best dogs, but they shed like crazy, and so do labs.
Yeah.
But
who's gonna clean that, babe?
not the only child.
We'll stick with Benjamin for now.
And also, if we're in a position where we have a sitter, because right now we have our friend Kari who can watch Benji, and we have a few friends that do, but I don't ever like burdening people with that favor, because a lot of friends will just be polite and say yes, but deep down they're like, oh, I gotta watch the dog and walk the dog and deal with.
Maybe they love the dog, baby. Mio would love to
Yeah.
have some time with Benji.
But if we're going to travel, or if we feel like we have a position where someone can just come to the house when we have a house, and then I would have a dog. But because even now, traveling with him, like when we went to Lake Arrowhead, it's just that extra step.
Yeah.
Of being able to do things, because like even kayaking you can't do with the dog.
No.
And you know, we have to find a dog-friendly place, or you have to pay $150 to travel each way on an airplane. So that's $300 round trip for Benji. Mm-hmm. So if you travel 6 times a year, I mean, that's $2,000 just on his travel.
You know, right now his ticket might be more expensive than a human's on a plane if you get the right price.
Oh yeah,
you're like paying more for the dog.
And he just sees a purse. I mean, he sits in the bag as if, you know. Yeah. But that is what it is. But yeah, would you do a lab? Or you never had a big dog?
I've never had a big dog. I love them. They are just so lovable. But I know that I would be the one taking care of it.
Not if we had a yard.
Really?
I would feed it.
Really?
Feed him or her.
Really?
Yeah.
Because the whole thing, our whole relationship is I did get Benjamin before, we started dating. And so that was essentially my responsibility, choosing.
And we just let it carry over.
Yeah.
And now we have shifts.
Yeah, we do have shifts.
I let him out from noon to midnight, and you handle any third shift or morning session.
Like last night, I have to tell you, okay, so most people listening probably know little Benjamin has epilepsy. And, every month or every couple months he'll have a little episode and he'll have a seizure. But we've gotten it under control. The vet's like, as long as that's the amount of time in between, it's all good. Well, so last night he had one, and it's so crazy. I was doing a little research, and people were saying that dogs or animals usually will have these episodes when a new moon or a full moon is coming. And I looked back at the last time he had one, and a new moon was the next day. And I looked up tomorrow, and the new moon's tomorrow. And that's when he's had both of them. And I was like, is this energy crazy or what in the world?
It might be. I don't know if it just happened to be coincidental.
I mean, that's pretty coincidental.
It's kind of, if no one has experienced it, it's very frightening. Before we knew it was epilepsy, we just thought it was nightmares because he lets out this shrilling scream, and sometimes, and if you like pet him, he'll like come out of it. And we're like, oh, you were just dreaming, but now we realize that for the past like 6-7 years, because how old is he?
It's 11.
Yeah, so he's 11. So he's been having them, but he will get stiff. So there's certain times that he'll get really stiff and then cry really loud, and then other times he'll just get like one arm that comes up, and he's like trying to limp around, and he's having
move the arm.
Yeah, and he's having like a seizure. So we like pet him. But last night was like a kind of a mini screaming one. But then you picked him up, and then sometimes he'll actually pee.
Yeah.
But that's what woke me up, because I saw him run to you. And then you picked him up when he screamed
so fast, because I knew he was going to
and then you
pee.
peed on the hardwood, which was like such a good move, because you just did the sheets.
Literally, that's this last month too. I had just cleaned the sheets, and the next day he peed on them. But those type of episodes happen when he's in a deep sleep.
Yes.
Anytime it's like daytime and we're on the couch and he
always at night.
I know, so interesting. But the screams are like a little scary when they wake you up and you're just like.
Yeah. Well, now we know what to expect, but and then if you like talk to him,
he came out of it really quick last night.
We've been giving him CBD for a couple years now, and so we didn't go on the medication because the vet recommended these medications. But you have to give blood tests, and it could hurt the liver. And we're like, let's look at alternatives. So we've been giving him CBD droplets on his food. So he still has them, but I'd say he has them, 6-7 times a year now?
Yeah.
Which is still terrifying, but they're not bad. They don't last long.
Yeah. It's so crazy, though, because we did put him on, I think it was called phenobarbital, and remember he got
sick.
so sick.
But it probably took him time to get used to it. We didn't give it a chance. But also, what a crazy time. We gave him whatever the hell that medicine's called that you just said eloquently. And he had like an issue with his stomach, and he was just going to the bathroom everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
Like, and it was so bad he even jumped off our bed, which he never does because our bed is like
high
4 feet off the ground. Yeah, but then we also were getting construction done, and there was these guys like on our balcony doing construction. So I think he was under a lot of stress, and then he just had these seizures. He went to the vet. We had him stay overnight. Why did we have him stay overnight? Because
he had a big seizure, and I think it was like the first time we had seen something. He had like, I think it was like cluster, where there were a couple, and we were like, this is
He had 3
right.
within 2 days, and they were bad, and we brought him. But then the being at the vet stressed him out. Then he stayed overnight, which stressed him out. And then he had another one. So we were just like, let's just let him relax. And then we got under control.
And I looked up just all natural ways, and I mean, CBD has been incredible.
And just put it on his food, and then
really
he
helped. So grateful for it. So yeah, long-winded answer to what kind of dog would we have?
Yeah.
We got another one. Well, let's get back to some days questionroonies. What is it like, and what's your process like remembering lines?
It's very simple on days. And I just now, after getting an audition and trying to memorize the lines, it's been taking me like 3 days to get down 11 pages because I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know who these people are. I don't know my intention. I don't know how this guy acts. I don't know how he sounds. I don't know his motivations. I don't know his past. I don't know his friends. And all of that comes in. So with days, I got to the point where I would look at them the morning of.
Yeah.
Because I just knew the character so well. I just needed to know, like, what was I saying? But I didn't have to do any homework because anything I was talking about, I understood. So I would just get there in the makeup chair. I'd open up my script and I'd look. The only thing I would do when I get new scripts is I would see, do I have like a 2-page monologue? And if I didn't, then I go, I'll just learn this the day of. Because I knew everything I was talking about. When I say Gabby, I know what that means.
Yeah.
I know when I say, hey, Will, like, remember back in the day you were in Nashville and you thought you were EJ DiMera.
You have zero character work to do because you know who he is.
Yeah.
And so with new auditions, you're like, wait, who are all these
people?
I
still can't. I was like, I got this. I was going to be all cocky. And
are we shooting that tonight?
We're going to shoot that tonight. I got to cut my hair, but yeah.
You look so cute right now. Like, just so put together. Like, I'd buy a house from you.
So I look like I sell mortgages?
I just trust this guy.
Yeah, of course you do. How you doing? Ready to take the next step? We offer as low as 3% down with an FHA loan.
Oh, no. Here we go. All right, next question. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
If someone calls you Sonny, do you answer?
I do.
You really do.
I'll be forever Sonny.
Sonny! It's happened quite a few times I've seen.
I would say 9 out of 10 encounters is people call you Sonny because they know you as Sonny. So... anytime anyone ever sees you or says anything, it's usually Sonny. And then I say, oh, hi, I'm Freddie. It's nice to meet you. And then I ask them their name. And I always make a point to go the extra mile because I know it takes a lot to come say hi. And because even for myself, like if I seen somebody, it's like, I don't know how. You kind of feel embarrassed to go say hi. So it takes like courage to come say hi. And so I always want to make it pleasant for people when they come say hi. So, but yeah, I answer to Sonny and Freddie. It's the same thing at this point.
I like that. This week, you ended up calling Will Babe. Did you ad-lib that, or was that part of the script?
That was, I believe, part of the script.
Okay.
Which was also interesting because, see, it's funny because Will and I never created any sort of name. Like you think in a relationship after 10 years, there's some sort of nickname. Like some people will say, hey, hun, or hey, sweetie, or babe, or like we say bear. Yeah. Like it's kind of and we never created anything. And so for whatever reason, there was babe in the script. Huh. I think so. So I was like, huh. But yeah, so, and someone said that before. They're like, you think you would call each other babe more often, and we should have implemented that, but we never ended up doing it.
Do other characters on soaps do that? Or is it more... You say their
I know
name.
that John calls Marlena Doc.
Oh, they have their
and
little
then I think
nickname.
there's something Sweetness is Stephen Nichols calls Mary Beth.
But I mean, that's
Patch and
years in the
Kayla.
making, so maybe you guys just didn't hit that.
We should have, yeah. If we're able to continue our story, we should bring that in where we create some nickname.
That's cute.
But then again, with some of the writing, I never, ever, there was one time, but I think it needs to come naturally because there was one time at the very beginning of my career there where they wrote in Uncle Vic, or I said Uncle Vic, and I started calling him Uncle Vic rather than Uncle Victor.
Got
So
it.
I've always done it. But in the script, 99% of the time, it says Uncle Victor. And I change it to Uncle Vic. But even after 900 episodes of calling him Uncle Vic, it's still never changed in the script.
always
It's still
Uncle
Uncle
Victor.
Victor. But I'll always say, oh, yeah, I was talking to Uncle Vic. But I make that decision and I change it.
Love that.
So they just kind of know. Like, no one says anything.
They're
So I
like,
just go, hey, Uncle Vic, are you dead, Uncle Vic? Like, I never say Victor.
Interesting. All right, next question. Are you cool with Will and Ben being friends as Sonny?
I mean, yeah, it seems like he's, because he says in the episode that he admires his willingness to forgive or
Sonny
something
is
like that.
So nice.
Yeah, he's a great role model.
Uh-huh.
More people should be like Sonny. I am.
No, like, okay, next question. Schedule for podcasts. Do you have one? What's up?
Well, we've talked about this. What do you think? We tried to have a schedule where we wanted to do every Sunday's a guest and then every like Tuesday, Thursdays us or whatever it may be. But then it becomes contrived if we're like, oh my gosh, we have to put one out Tuesday. But if there's nothing to really talk about or there's nothing in the news or there's nothing that we're talking about, then you kind of have a forced episode where then if you waited one day, you might go, oh my gosh, we've got so much to talk about. So I know it's a little difficult for the audience to find like, well, what they know the day's recaps are every Friday until September 1st or whatever day that is, like a Tuesday. But every Friday until then, we're going to do that. But that's because there's a guaranteed topic.
Right.
If I'm airing, it's guaranteed that I could talk on something. But if we always have to have a guest or we always have to have something scheduled, it's kind of difficult. So I know, but that's another good reason. If you're subscribed and you hit the notification bell and you turn that notification bell on your cell phone or on your computer, you'll get a notification on your phone that goes, Freddie and Alyssa just posted a new episode. And then I would say 1 out of every 4 episodes, I will use the text service that we have and I'll send out a text, but I don't want to bombard people. So every now and then I'll say, hey, you should really check this one out. Like it's something unique or something. I go, hey, this one you should really watch. But if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll get those notifications. So you can go, oh, there's a new one. And the YouTube algorithm, you probably have noticed this as an audience member. If you've spent time watching our show, the algorithm's picking up that you're spending time watching us. And if you like and comment and you're engaged, YouTube, you're basically telling the YouTube algorithm, I want Freddie and Alyssa stuff. So even if you go to YouTube to go, how do I bake an apple pie? You'll watch that video and then YouTube will recommend a Freddie and Alyssa video for you. So that's another way the algorithm works in our favor of why we love YouTube, because if it knows. If you click on a Freddie and Alyssa video and watch for 4 seconds and you dip, they'll stop showing it.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this now, the YouTube algorithm goes, well, you've spent 35 minutes with Alyssa and Freddie. You must want to see more of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and we really are trying to get on a schedule. Generally, we do at least 2 a week, and one is always on Friday, and the other, I would say, is a Sunday to Tuesday. Within those days, we always release something, but we have a lot of really cool guests coming up that we're shooting.
Yeah,
next week.
I think just posting, though. It seems like it finds people.
Yeah.
Like it'll find, like even tomorrow's, it's a very hot topic guest that we have on, so I don't really want to wait. Like tomorrow, I just want to post it, even if it's gonna be Saturday night, which isn't a good time to post. But it's important because
of what's going
of
on.
what the topic's about. So I don't know. So to answer your question, no, we don't have a schedule, but we're trying to always make sure we do 2 to 3 a week.
Yep.
And maybe there will be a time that we can do a specific schedule, but as of now, it creates a friction that we don't want. So I hope that answers it, but we're doing our best to try to eventually get there.
Love that. Okay, so we're going to have time for one more question. That question is the paper bag princess book that Ari has. She says it's her favorite book. Was that in the script, or is that really Sydney's favorite book?
I believe that was in the script.
Really?
Yeah.
Aww.
So that was in the script, and most of it's in the script.
Yeah.
It's just loose, meaning, you know, like there's a documentary called with Alec Baldwin, Seduced and Abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
We should rewatch that. If anyone is likes acting or the industry or is curious, I don't know where to find it, but it's probably on one of the main platforms. Maybe not Netflix, I don't know, but it's called Seduced and Abandoned. It's a documentary about Alec Baldwin and his writing partner trying to sell a movie. And 95% of selling a movie is about the marketing and the money, and 5% is the story and the actual actors, because people look at it as a business.
Yeah.
And he basically says that they seduce you and then abandon you. Like, that's the industry. And they interview a bunch of the biggest actors and directors, and they're just saying it's like a crazy hard business. Mm-hmm. And in what was in Seduced and Abandoned, Alec Baldwin was saying that he hates when directors will go, cut. You said perhaps when it says maybe. And he goes, it's so frustrating. And yeah. I would actually find that to be difficult. There's a few actual writers that are geniuses that are so specific, and they write every word to a symphony in their head, and I respect that. But in a lot of movies, for me anyway, and some people can be against this idea, but for me, when we write movies, like with Unplugged,
bring the improv on.
I'm hiring you. And someone said this recently. I'm hiring the actor to do the job. The writing's the blueprint. The story is in the writing. And I'm picking you to be this person and to make that person better. Because even for Sonny, I know Sonny more than probably the writers, in the sense that they write for 35 to 50 people.
Yeah.
I know about Sonny, and that's all I think about. I don't think about anything, you know what I mean? So yeah. I'm 100% in Sonny. So as I'm doing these lines after lines after lines, almost 5,000 scenes,
yeah,
you start to become, he says Uncle Vic. That's just is what it is.
Yeah.
So you can start to become the character, and having that freedom to just let us go is one of my favorite things on days. It's never stressful because I can say whatever I want.
Sure.
As long as it's close enough.
Yeah.
And I'm always close, but I don't get caught on the words. If you were to follow a script, you'd be like...
I think it's so natural between you guys because you have that freedom to be able to know and trust in each other, that if someone says something that is close enough but not exactly the correct word, that you trust the other actor is going to pick it up for you.
We weren't doing this recap during the time of one of the biggest saves. Not the biggest saves, but... Or maybe I can't even mention it. I got to double check to make sure this scene hasn't... I have to... It seems like it's aired, but I can't... But there was a time when Chandler, in a scene, and I'll double check if it's aired, he was saying a line, he forgot the line, and I could tell that he forgot it, and I knew what the line was, so I just took the line, and it worked in the scene, that if you were just like something like, oh yeah, we need to get... from the grocery store, we need to get, I was like, coffee. Like, instead of you saying, I need to get coffee from the grocery store, it was a scene that I was able to go...
Smart. And you saved it.
Yeah. And so afterwards, we were just like, oh, okay. So there's times that you know, but there's other times I don't know what the person's going to say, so you can't really help.
Sure.
So, but yeah, you get a lot of freedom, and it's really great.
Love that. Well, this was a fun app. I feel like it's been so long since we've
It feels like it has, but it hasn't. It's just been a long, long life. But anyway, everyone, thank you so much. And comment below, shoot us a text of any questions that you have for next week. And we're doing our best to sift through all the questions and try to, get some.
Yes.
And then, but we'll continue next week. Next week, June 26th, is going to be a big day. We've got the Emmys that are going to virtually air that we'll be able to touch on. We're going to have another episode or more episodes of Sonny and Will to be able to talk about. And then if everything goes according to plan, we could be launching our official merch for the Freddie Alyssa Show. We have 3 shirts that could be available if everything goes right in the next few days. They should be launched on the 26th episode as well.
Yay!
So we'll see. So we'll keep you up to date, but we should know in the next few days if the samples come back perfect, we will launch on the 26th.
Bow, chicka, bow, bow.
So thank you all. Have a great and safe weekend, and we will see you next time.